For thousands of years, completely disconnected societies across the globe independently hallucinated the exact same impossible anatomy. Human consciousness repeatedly conceptualized the unknown by fusing a human torso with the lower body of an aquatic animal. We see it in the prophetic mermaids and destructive sirens of medieval Europe. We see it in the wealth-bringing, dangerous water spirits of African and diasporic traditions known as mamiwata. It appears in Slavic folklore as the rusalka, a spirit of unresolved grief and water death, and it emerges in East Asia as the ningyo, a creature offering the taboo gift of immortality. If these cultures never communicated, we have to explain why the human brain defaults to this exact anatomical blueprint when trying to process complex boundary states. Classical psychology attempted to explain this convergence using qualitative frameworks. Sigmund Freud argued these symbols were constructed from repressed emotional residues and conflicts. Carl Jung suggested they were archetypes, like the anima, emerging spontaneously from deeper layers of a collective unconscious. These theories provide a narrative, but they lack a mathematical mechanism. They do not explain the statistical consistency of the anatomy, nor do they predict when or why a specific hybrid will form in a specific mind. To understand the mechanics of myth, we have to treat the mind as a physical landscape. The brain processes emotion as measurable mechanical forces, or strain, across a topographical map of memory and cognition. This is the Brain Kinematics Model. It models the mind dynamically, mapping how neural strain flows and settles into stable geometric states. Under this model, hybrid figures are not arbitrary cultural inventions. They are the optimal mathematical solutions to processing multiple highly active emotional strains that are partially decoupled from cognitive control. Every dream or symbolic generation begins with a dream state vector, an active combination of your memory field, emotional strain, and cognitive control. This equation illustrates how that vector moves. Navigating a strain potential landscape, it searches for a stable valley. When emotional intensity is high, but control remains intact, it routes into the expansion attractor. Conversely, when strain overwhelms control, it drops into the collapse attractor. In human sleep, these valleys dictate exact visual outputs. The expansion basin generates dreams of controlled, soaring flight. The collapse basin generates dreams of falling, drowning, or bodily fragmentation. A single dominant emotional vector reliably produces a highly simple, singular symbolic form to resolve pressure. The math becomes complicated at the cognitive boundary. We have to calculate what happens when emotional depth overpowers control, but the brain refuses to fully collapse its narrative identity. The system experiences simultaneous, contradictory emotional vectors. It registers extreme attraction paired directly with extreme danger. Caught between competing pressures, the particle cannot settle into a simple valley. It is forced into a specialized topological solution, the hybrid attractor basin. Here, the hybrid symbol equals emotional strain multiplied by the depth-to-control ratio, requiring boundary hybridization. The visual anatomy of the resulting symbol maps perfectly to its cognitive function. The upper, human structure, explicitly encodes cortical control, identity, and narrative coherence. The lower, aquatic or animal anatomy, encodes the fluid, unresolved instinctual emotional continuum. A mermaid-type symbol is computationally required to carry the cognitive load. It's the necessary interface between structured surface identity and deep, unknown emotional strain. The structure of the hybrid attractor is biologically universal, but individual cultures assign drastically different weights to its inputs based on their own environments and histories. This chart maps out the cultural face space. It organizes mythological figures along 3 axes: attraction, danger, and transformation. The Greek siren prioritizes intense seductive attraction paired with immediate mortal risk. Plotted geometrically, the siren sits at high attraction, high danger, and low transformation. The African mamiwata operates on different parameters. Representing beauty, healing, and power, mamiwata occupies high attraction, moderate danger, and high transformation. The Slavic rusalka represents a highly specific emotional vector, operating on unresolved grief. The rusalka drops into low attraction, high danger, and high transformation. Despite wild cultural variations, these figures mathematically cluster around the balanced center of the face space. The mermaid is the exact geometric border of human emotional topology. We can scale this topography down from historical mythologies to the mechanics of daily REM sleep. In clinical research, a paradox emerges. Two patients can experience the exact same emotional stressor, like severe uncertainty, but report radically different nightmare symbols. One dreams of drowning, the other of failing an exam. This happens because the brain translates universal strains using a personal symbol dictionary. The mind pulls from an individual's specific memories and life exposures to build the geometry. This flowchart represents the symbol strain mapping algorithm. It takes raw emotional input like intensity, control, uncertainty, and time pressure and routes it toward a visual output. For an individual with an expansion bias, the algorithm intercepts the signal for high intensity and low control. Instead of generating a falling dream, the system reroutes the strain into continuous motion, generating a symbol of unstable flight. A mind averse to collapse encoding will force emotional strain into motion vectors. It avoids symbols of bodily fragmentation, like losing teeth, because it regulates tension through distance rather than breakdown. Specific dream symbols do not diagnose a personality type. They reveal the brain's preferred mathematical algorithm for resolving internal pressure. The bridge between a single dream and a global myth is our shared biological architecture. When millions of brains resolve the same emotional strains using the same topological rules, personal attractors settle into cultural landmarks, making individual dream generation and societal myth-making functionally equivalent. Both phenomena are governed by the exact same topological mandate, internal strain fields interacting with the constraints of memory. Here, we are observing the human mind's structural effort to organize chaotic emotional pressure into identifiable, stable forms. The mermaid symbol stands as a peak of this organization. The human-aquatic hybrid is the visual result of a mathematical necessity. It visualizes a mind standing on the boundary of its own depths, synthesizing logic with instinct. These hybrid monsters represent the brain's most efficient geometric solution for navigating the unknown.